Today we are discussing green flags. So this is about choosing better and not chasing harder. Like a lot of times when we're chasing people, like trying to get people to love us, we just go, 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 go. What can I do? How can I bend over backwards? Maybe we're people pleasing. Maybe we're uh, blowing past our boundaries. Maybe we do things that make us uncomfortable because please, God, just let this person like me. So the red flag part of that was all about what are we seeing? What makes us anxious? And why do we confuse that like drama with chemistry? Will he, won't he, like that kind of stuff? That's the chemistry. That's what we think is chemistry, but really it's just a hot mess that's confusing you and upsetting your nervous system. The flip side of that are green flags. And I thought it was really interesting, right? So many people wanted to come to the red flags, and then less people wanted to come to the green flags. And it could just be that people are like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's a good person, whatever. I feel good. And not really realizing that the green flags is honest to God, some of the stuff that I talk about the most with my clients. So, one thing that I've seen quite frequently is um, a lot of people think, oh, if it's not exciting, if I'm not getting titillated, if I'm not having drama, then this is boring. This is boring. And so I just want to pause to say, Carlos, mm, beautiful, beautiful comment. Thank you. Okay. So it's not boring, but this is the thing. People think it is boring. Oh, well, he doesn't make me anxious, so it's not love. And I think this is where it gets really interesting how many conversations I've had with people, which is why I wanted to do this, is with people thinking they're dull, this person's uninteresting, or maybe they think red flags are as simple as like, oh, they're awkward, right? How many of you guys been on a date with somebody that was just like kind of a weirdo a little bit, said something kind of weird? Oh yeah, see, Raven says, oh yeah, it's boring equals safe. And now, like the older I get, the more I'm like, ooh, I just want safe. That sounds awesome. Can I just be safe? But when I was younger, I definitely liked Brianna, feel free to put questions or comments in the chat for now. But when I was younger, I wanted, oh God, the like fireworks and the chemistry and the like banging in the restaurant bathrooms and like all of that, whatever I could have. And now I'm like, oh, you have a 401k? That's amazing. Let's talk about that. That's sexy. And it's just, you just want to feel safe in our days. Okay, so let me kind of get a little bit deeper into that. So what we're going to be learning about this is recognizing kind of the difference between desire and the kind of connections that support your nervous system. So you guys have all had the experience of like when something gives you this immense relief. And there's nothing like that relief. And so that's the feeling we want to feel with somebody. It's like, not like, there he is. Oh my God, my prince in shining armor. Sometimes when he texts me, maybe we want that feeling of like, there's my person. There you are, right? Whatever it is. Maybe they have like the same things in common with you that just make you feel good. Maybe your mom likes them and that's all you've been looking for. But oh, God, that's how I want to feel. Oh, yeah, that's how I feel when we remove those trolls. Ah, okay. So, why security can feel boring after drama? So, this is the next step. I have a client. I have a client right now, and he's dating two girls, and it's so fun to watch. So, one girl is high drama, and one girl just tells him she likes him. And he is far more scared of the one that's being direct because he's like, well, I don't know what this is. He says that he's dated so many wounded birds, so many people that he's tried to fix. And he loves that messy girl. He loves a messy girl. And so this woman who has her shit together, he's like, this is so weird. Like he doesn't even know how to address that. So how many of you guys have had like those really exciting dramatic relationships that are just all over the place, ups and downs. Yeah, right. And then you go date somebody, and how many of you guys have dated somebody that you're like, oh God, this person is so boring. And it's just not the person for you. And it could be the distance between somebody super exciting. It could be that that person is hella boring. Like, we're not going to try to make you date like vanilla ice cream kind of people, but just understand that there are like a span between exciting and awesome. And what's some stuff, I didn't put this in the notes, but I really want to make sure that we're saying this. What's some stuff? Ooh, capacity, yes. What are some things that you want to keep excitement in, but what are some things that you can let excitement go? And so I didn't have that in there, but I think this is kind of good to know. So for me, I like adventure and travel. So I want to be with somebody who's like down to get on a plane and go do something. Um, but somebody that like messes with my self-esteem on purpose, I don't need that anymore. I'm over that. I got the trolls to help me keep my self-esteem in check. Okay. So let's talk about when someone is kind, consistent, emotionally available, and predictable in healthy ways. When you don't feel that spark, that might be unfamiliar, but boring doesn't mean it's wrong. But the first part before we get into that is that we need to talk about grieving the love you didn't get. Okay. Now, are any of you here right now dating somebody that you're not 100% hot on? Like they're all right. It's a solid okay. Yeah, I see Robin is like, yeah, I got this dude. Or maybe not, you're not a dude. I'm not putting that on you. I'm sorry. Whoever you're dating, right? It's like, yeah, oh, Brianna. Yeah, me. Right. So it's somebody that's like, this is okay. Um, Mooney says, I don't grieve, I move fast. So part of it too is that we've got to grieve this love that we didn't get. And I see this in men and women. We have been designed by society and culture and movies and commercial holidays like Valentine's Day, um, to believe this escalator. You are going to, you know, meet the one right away. It's going to click. It's going to go well. Everybody's going to like each other. And then you're going to get married and then you're going to have kids. And it's just like, da, 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 da. And we are all so unique individuals. Every single one of us has, such a mix of trauma, of joy, of things that make us feel good about ourselves, maybe like weird shit that we feel good about ourselves, maybe weird shit we don't feel good about ourselves. So we have this whole mix, and you come along and you see somebody that's hot and they have their mix. And what are the chances? So I'm going to say Daniel and I are going to go on a date because I see him rocking out to music and I appreciate that. So you and I go out on a date, and it's like, it's not just us on this date, it's your parents and all the stuff they funneled into you, and my parents and all the stuff they funneled into me, and generations and generations and generations. And so, what are the chances that me and Daniel are going to go on a date and it's like, oh, yeah, he's hot because he's got arm tattoos, but like, is it really going to work? So we've got to grieve the fact that we might never find that scenario. So let's like take a minute with that, because this is something Atika and I were actually just talking about yesterday. It's like there is no there that you're going to get to. We're never going to like, once I get that job, once I get that person, once I lose that 20 pounds, I'm going to be happy, right? That that doesn't happen. You're going to get that job, but your boss is going to be a micromanager. You're going to get that person, but they're going to, snore and their mom's going to suck. And maybe there's like a crazy baby mama. I don't know. And then maybe you lose that 20 pounds. Oh, but it turns out you're like hungry and bitchy all the time. So it's like we have these ideas of like, oh, if I just, but it's not there. So I will tell you this. I married my husband. I love him to death. 15 years. Um, at no point was it like phew, fireworks, right? Now I've had the fireworks. I kind of don't ever want those fireworks again because I wasn't paying attention to who that person was as a human. My husband, it's like a chill love. Like we just really have the same sense of humors. We really get along. He is the best human being I've ever met. So, like, that's amazing and that's great for me. However, am I missing out on some more like exciting romantic pieces? Absolutely. He's a software engineer. He's basically a robot. Like, that's not in his wheelhouse. I can tell him, hey, sometimes do this, but like, that's not him. So I had to go through a period in my marriage. And actually, ironically, he consoled me. It's really funny. I was crying in the bedroom and he was like, "Babe, why are you so sad?" And I was like, "I'm never gonna fall in love again." And I'm like crying to my husband at the realization that like I'm never going to have that like woof, and just mourning that like, oh, that time in my life has gone. And this is why this is my dude. They're there, honey. It's okay. Who knows? Maybe I'll die and you'll fall in love again. And it's like, that's my man, right? So this is a really good experience to see that it's like you can grieve what you might not have, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to find something more real, you know? I mean, it could happen. Um, okay. So, rewriting what love and romance means. So we're taught that romance looks like intensity, passion, sacrifice, being chosen, and needing somebody. Okay, so we talked about intensity a little bit, but let's talk about sacrifice. So, how many of you have sacrificed parts of yourself for somebody else? Sacrificed maybe a boundary, a moral, yeah, just like I'm willing to blow by that. Um, I had this guy. He was my last fireworks guy. Oh God, he was gorgeous. Um, this is how dumb I was for this guy. This is like a red flag story. Um, he had me, this is so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm telling you this. He had me have a list of things like subjects I wasn't allowed to talk about with him because he is a certain kind of man and we do not talk about things and women don't drive cars. And I was like, well, okay, like you're so hot. And I remember being in awe that this like God wanted to have sex with me. Like this God chose me. Yeah, I'll carry around a list of shit I'm not going to talk about. That seems completely reasonable. Oh, oh, my poor little 25-year-old self just didn't know any better. And of course, like that wouldn't happen now, but that's the point is that you see something and you will blow past what you know in your heart to be right to make a sacrifice. So secure love looks like feeling seen. So somebody who really, really gets you, whatever your weird shit is. To me, somebody who can see my little idiosyncrasies and like gets it and knows whatever about me, that to me is love. Like they get me. It's feeling calm. I don't want to be anxious anymore. There's so much in the world to be anxious about. Like when I come home, I want to be calm. I want to feel respected. I want to feel like my opinions matter and I don't need to carry around a list of like shit I'm not allowed to talk about. So things like that. And then you also want to be able to be yourself. And I am a total goofball. I do some wildly weird, stupid shit. And my husband thinks it's hysterical. Like he appreciates it. Like whereas somebody else might be embarrassed by me to be like, oh God, keep it together. He thinks I'm hysterical. And it's like, yes, that's what I want is somebody to think I'm hysterical. Okay, so let me pull up our thing again. And if some sad little troll ruins it for everybody. We'll just keep talking. Okay, y'all can see that. Okay, so there's going to be four kinds of green flags we're going to go through, and we're just going to go one by one. The first is the nervous system green flags. So these are the ones that we're going to notice in our body. So remember, you're on this date with this person who's maybe a little meh, maybe you're not thrilled about, but there's something there. Let's pay attention to our bodies. This person texts you in a timely manner and you realize that you feel relaxed. You guys have a conversation about your job and you realize that you're, being respected. Ooh, yeah. Nathan says a partner's supposed to build you up. Absolutely. That you're not overthinking. Now, I know a bunch of us here, we love to overthink, right? Just what's happening? What's going on? Oh my God, did he like me? How many of you guys used to like go through text messages, like word by word with your friends? Well, what did they mean? And what was this? I mean, oh God, I remember doing that. Even way back in middle school, if a guy wrote me a note, I was like, let's dissect every sentence of this. Whereas like now, it's nice to feel like I'm not overthinking. I get it. I know that this person loves and respects me. This one is a really interesting one because if you find that you are experiencing a situation with somebody and you're overthinking, even though you're like, oh, I've still got some green flags. I mean, I've got the green flags, but I'm overthinking. Let me make sure I'm saying that right. You're having green flags. This person seems great, but you're still feeling like you're overthinking. That's going to possibly be an issue for you to deal with on your own. So some green flag issues, it's an issue that you're going to deal with on your own because it's not that the person is boring. It might be that you are either anxiously or avoidantly attached. And so if you're like, well, I like this person and they're doing everything right, and yet I can't stop spinning out of control, that's when it's like, okay, let me look inside of myself. What am I needing to work on? And so that's something that I do a lot with some of my clients is they'll say, this is happening, and then I reframe it. And it's like, oh, it's my shit that's making me unable to pay attention to somebody else. So, it's not just them. We all have work to do. Next is that the values alignment. Okay, so this one for me, big fan of values. This is like the nuts and bolts of a relationship, a friendship, anything. Are there similar relationship goals? Well, shit, this one is super easy. If you want to have your lifelong partner, you're wanting to get married, and the person you're dating straight up is like, I'm just here to have sex, and you continue to pursue that person, that's your fault. That failed relationship is on your head because if that person is being honest and they're telling you, yo, I'm just here for sex, then don't push the issue. Okay, cool. Either sex or no sex. But if they're telling you what they want, all the heartache that you're going to have in the future is heartache that you brought on yourself. And that's just like reality, right? Like I had a dude who didn't want a boy or who didn't want a girlfriend, and I just followed him around like a puppy. I was like, surely if I stay in his like field of view long enough, when he's ready to have a girlfriend, he's going to choose me because I'm here. No, that's gross. Ugh, gross. No, he did not choose me. He chose some other chick. Probably because I was like a super needy puppy. So right there, that's one thing you can do right there off the bat. Okay, we don't have this in common. Shared views on commitment. Get that out of the way. Are we monogamous? Are we polyamorous? Are we ethically non-monogamous? Whatever your bag is, just be on the same page. Compatible lifestyles. One thing is that, if you work nights and your person works days, maybe there's going to be a little bit of a mismatch there. If you are a vegan and your person is, a strict carnivore. Okay, there's something. Um, if you don't want kids and your partner has 5 kids. So just lifestyles. And then honesty. Of course, honesty is tricky. You don't know that somebody's being dishonest until you catch them. And it's like, well, shit, how long has it been that they've been dishonest? How many other lies are there? So that's a little tricky. But honesty to me goes back to listening. Being honest goes to listening. So if you are listening to that person and they're saying, yo, I just want sex, and your mind hears, I want to get married, they're being honest with you, but later you might feel that they're being dishonest, because like you have it in your head that they're trying to be in a relationship like me. I tried to get that guy in a relationship. And then in my head, he was being dishonest. Guys, I'm so sorry. I gotta let this little chicken out. Give me just 1 second. Sorry, sorry. Okay. Sorry, everybody. I got a little old man with dementia, and when he's ready to go out, he's gonna let it be known. Okay. So, when you're thinking about honesty, how honest are you being with them too? Think about that shit because you might want to be the cool girl. You might want to come off cool and casual. You really want to get married and have a baby by next year. But this guy is like, I'm going to keep it casual. And you're like, I'm going to say the same thing. And now you're not the one being honest. There's interesting ways to play this scenario. Um, the next is respect for boundaries. This is a really easy one. I think I told this in the red flag. I did. But if you text somebody and they're like, hey, what are your boundaries? And you tell them and they blow by them, that's when you know. So for me, this guy and I were online dating. And that just sounds so like old fashioned now, online dating. Right away, he was like, do you want pics? And I was like, yeah, if it's like scenery or your dog or something. And then right away, he was like, oh, dick pics? And it's like, no, never, you know? But right there, I told him no. And then he sent me a dick pic anyways. And so right there, I was like, oh, okay, you're not my dude. Like, if you can't respect this tiny little boundary that's like, just don't show me your genitalia when we're not in person. Like, he had to actively select that and give it to me. Like, come on, bro. The next is emotional availability. So this one is a big one, emotional availability, because yes, Kelly, we will let you in, my dear. Emotional availability is something that you might also not see a little later down the road because everybody starts off with their, best intentions, their best selves. But then what's going to happen is maybe 2 or 3 months is going to go in, and you might discover they're pulling away a little bit. How many of you guys have had the pull away where they just kind of start fading a little bit? And you're like, what happened? We had great dates. The makeout was great. Yeah, everything was going well. But then all of a sudden, they're pulling back. So this is when you might start to be, obsessively looking at avoidant attachment styles, right? As soon as you're like, well, maybe they're an avoidant. And so that's something to be considered of is that their emotional availability is how much can they bring to the table. Now, we all have things that um, maybe we're not open to discussing. We all have things that maybe we're not ready to talk about. That doesn't mean you're not emotionally available, but if they can't ever have a conversation with you about it, if they can't ever like just sit and listen to your boundary or what you want, then they might not be emotionally available. But that one is tricky. But if they, show up and they're like, down to talk with you and down to be with you, then good. Then you guys are on the same page. Might be the flip side too. You're not very emotionally available. So we've got to be sure that we're going to be honest about that. Okay, the next one is going to be about behaviors. So examples of behaviors are consistency, following through, willingness to repair, clear communication, accountability, and showing up. So, we've talked a lot about, the things, let me think about this. So, with consistency, the one that I see that the most with is texting. That's the one that most people have a complaint about. It's like, they don't respond right away. They take, 5 hours to respond to a text. They don't initiate a text. So consistency, following through. This is something that we want to see. If they say, we're going to plan a date for Friday, and then they plan a date for Friday, good follow through. Now, with the consistency, I think that this is something that you could just have a really good conversation about, like the third date. Third date is always like solid conversation time. Around the third date, I want you guys to be having conversations around communication and consistency. And so all this looks like is, what do I need to feel comfortable and appreciated and like respected in this relationship? So for some people, they need to be texted all day, every day. That's just their jam, all day, every day. For some people, they need, yes, Tiara, this is talking relationships and dating. Yes, you're very new here, Tiara. You're very welcome here. Green flag for asking a communication and getting clarity. I love it. So when we're talking about communication, that's one of those things that we just want to have match up. So I don't like to text very much. I could care less. But if I date a guy that needs to be texted every day, that's a conversation we need to have. It doesn't mean that that's a red flag, but it's something that we need to talk about to make sure his needs are getting met and I'm not being annoyed and stressed out, right? So it's like, hey, what do we feel like? Can we have, you know, 5 text messages a day? Do we do one phone call every night, one FaceTime a week? And it doesn't have to be like exact, like you're not checking them off, on the calendar, but just kind of match so that way you're both getting your needs met. The next is accountability. And this one is a really big one. The flip side of accountability is going to be defensiveness, or like that person that's a victim who blames. So if I go up to somebody and I'm like, hey, I don't really like how you blew past that boundary, they could respond, a couple different ways. And if they say, well, you know, I don't really care. I just thought it was funny. Dick pics are funny. Enjoy. Then I'd be like, okay, so you didn't listen to me. You don't really care. That's a red flag. But if I say, hey, boundary, I don't really like that. And they say, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I thought it was going to be a funny joke, but it's my mistake and I'll never do it again. Green flag. So we want somebody who takes accountability for themselves. The other day, we kind of got into like a little argument over like lunch plans. And we both, of course, thought we were right. And I went back and looked at the text messages, and he was right, and I was the asshole, and I was like, here's the phone. You were right. I was the jerk. And so that way now he is always going to feel a little safer with me because he knows that it's like, I'm not walking around like I own the world and, it's my way or the highway. He gets it. Okay. Next is character green flags. And then how can we determine ooh, how can we determine someone's values without wasting too much time? I love that question, and I want to let's think about that. Let's think about that for just a minute because I want to make sure. So with values, I think that these are just super like these are just what you can do in a conversation. So if we're talking about the values, these are going to be conversations, except for the honesty and the emotional availability. Those are ones that it's kind of like a little bit of a wait and see. I'm so sorry. But those are just conversations that you can get out, and again, I think around the third date, you don't want to come out guns a-blazing on the first date. I'm looking to get married. We're going to be monogamous. I expect to do 50% of the housework. Like you will look insane. And so we want to just, third or fourth date and sprinkle them in. Like just sprinkle them in. You don't have to do it all in one conversation. So maybe the first date, you can have a conversation about boundaries. Maybe, the third date, you talk about some other stuff. Um, PM, that is interesting. I would love to talk to you more about that. And what if you don't want to waste time or get too attached? Okay, I love that, Atika. So let's say you don't want to waste time. I think this is kind of an interesting concept. Wasting time. Why do we think of dating as like, I don't know, this thing that we're trying to achieve, and oh, it's the third date, and if you're not the one, I've wasted my time. Like to me, that is so much pressure. Could we be scientists? Could we just be like, I met this person, they like to read, I like to read, we both like Italian food, like maybe there's some stuff here. Could we go on a few dates with that person and just like treat it more like a science experiment instead of, well, they didn't check all my boxes in 4 dates, so skedaddle. Like my husband and I dated on and off for like 3 months. We didn't talk for a month. And then it was like, oh yeah, we like each other. Like it was a real chill kind of get to know you. But I think, we should probably be dating, if you're lucky enough to swing it, a few people, right? So that you get the idea of like not being so focused and absorbed on one person. That's the benefit. If you can date multiple people, don't be so absorbed on one person. I don't know if you can do it. I don't know if that's in your wheelhouse, but it's one technique. I just want to make sure I finish up the second part of Miss Adika's question. Um, or get too attached. So the attachment, I love that you put that. The attachment is something that you are responsible for. Period. Your attachment to somebody else is something you are responsible for. And it is going back to these. If you take anything out of this, take this value aligned green flags. This is all. If you can just get this, dating is going to be so much better for you. So, what am I getting attached to? Is it how, like somebody told me the other day, I love how he makes me feel. And I said, well, what do you love about him? And she says, I love how he makes me feel. That's not about him. That's about you seeing yourself through somebody's eyes. It's about you loving the fact that for once you feel confident and sexy. That's fucking great. Feel that way. But nowhere in there was that about him, you know? So when we're talking about getting attachment, that responsibility is squarely on your shoulders. You can go nuts and fall in love all you want. Like, I'm not telling you not to. But if you are getting attached and they don't want to get married, they want to be polyamorous, they kind of disrespect my boundaries, they're not really emotionally available, but fuck it, I'm going to fall in love anyways. That's on you. And in that case, you should come see me so we could work on some deeper stuff. Does that make sense? I got to tell you guys, I did not realize how intense I was going to get on this green flag one. I thought this was going to be fun, but like I'm seeing some interesting things come up where it's like, oh, we can be red flags too. It's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go to okay. My gut tells me fast if someone is not right for me. So, Moni, you probably have a great gut instinct. And if you have a great gut instinct, go for it. If you can feel right away. But I have a client who has like has been raised to believe that all men are cheaters. So she doesn't have a concept of like what a good like relationship would be. And so at the drop of a hat, she leaves the guy because her gut's telling her it's not safe. Even though everything about the guy is like A plus, it's her gut just because of her belief system. So I love that we trust our guts, but also, yeah, work with the behaviors. Work with the behaviors. I love Moni. I thought you said you were in your 50s, and I love that. Women in their 50s are the best. Okay, character green flags. So kindness, empathy, integrity, emotional maturity, curiosity, and respect. And there's a bunch of things in here that are different for different people. So I need kindness. My whole life is giving. I volunteer, I donate money, like this is volunteer work, like I'm a giver. And so I need somebody who's equally kind, especially with like animals. Oh yeah, 43, Moni. I'm older than you then, but you're cute as shit. Okay. Next is empathy. I think we should all want empathetic partners because that way they can understand us. We want somebody who can go, oh yeah, I know what it's like to have a rough day. Integrity, you don't want to be with somebody who's like stealing from their job, if and these are things that again, you are in control of. If you hear some red flags, if you're like, oh, this person has already been to jail for tax evasion, and then you're like wanting to join your bank accounts, those repercussions are on you. Um, Okay, let me see, Nathan. I'm having a serious question that I don't know how to fit. Having difficulty with guys telling me that they're seeking dating relationships. Okay, so the question that Nathan is asking, and I believe we talked to you last time too, um, is having difficulty with guys telling him that they're seeking dating, but not relationships. And so if so, are they looking for relationships or sex? And what exactly are they looking for? Attention. Yeah, I think dating is if they're straight up just saying, I'm dating, they're looking for attention, a good time, somebody to go out and take selfies with, and just keeping it casual. And we're not shaming those people. They're being honest about what they want. Cool. If that's what you want, cool. But if you want a relationship, just know that that's what they're looking for. Yes, Atika says validation, which is what I was thinking with attention is validation, right? If they're like, if you're always, oh, you're so hot, why would they, turn that down? But if they could have 5 people telling them they're so hot, maybe that's even better. Okay, so look at these character green flags and think about what are some that are really important to you. And they might not just be these, but oh, you're welcome, Nathan. But some other ones. So for me, some things that I didn't put on this list is I am really into living a healthy lifestyle. So my partner, better exercise, better take care of themselves in some way. I'm also a lifelong learner. So I want somebody who's also interested in learning new things because that excites me. I want to know, like, it doesn't have to be what I'm learning, but I want to know, like, what are you learning? What are you into? That is very exciting for me. So some character traits that might fit you, um, specifically. Okay. Let's see. Kaz says dating also leads to finding out if there's something there to dive in deeper. Friendship. Can't have a relationship. Yes, Kaz, I love that. You can't have a relationship if you're not friends. And I think, Kaz, I'm so grateful for you for putting that in the chat because it's exactly right. We are looking basically for somebody to treat us with the same respect that our friends treat us. Now, when we have friends, we want our friends to treat us right, but also be able to give us like a little bit of shit and accept us at our worst and accept us at our best. And then, yet, for some reason, in romantic relationships, we like to throw that out the window and they are just our boyfriend, girlfriend. and it doesn't have to be at the same level. And, the older we get, um, all that sexy shit, definitely goes downhill when you've been together for 20 years and like you've nursed each other through like broken arms and deaths of parents and lost jobs and gaining weight and then getting really sick and having cancer and like you go through all that. It's not going to be sexy time. You're just like stoked to have somebody next to you who loves you and respects you. And so we want to make sure that that these people are fitting us who we are as our friends. We want to be friends with people. Okay, unless you're Borat. Okay. Oh man, I love people are putting some really interesting things in here. And I wish maybe we could do some one-on-one coaching at the end. Okay, so let's talk about the identity shift. Um, to choose green flags, you often have to become someone new. Ooh, okay, let's talk about that. So for you what is that phrase? If I want something I've never had, I've got to do something I've never done. That applies to relationships. It's not just awesome business sense. If you want to have that healthy, calm relationship, stop dating drug addicts. Like stop dating the people with the drama. So this is kind of what we're looking for is like, what am I in charge of? And that I think is so empowering. Now, I'm going to pause here. It's empowering because you don't have to take shit. You don't have to take anything you don't want to take. If you want the drama, drama. Marissa's like, what if you are the drama? Then let's have your partner come to one of these sessions. Cause like, yeah, in my 20s, I was the drama for sure, and now let me tell you what I think about late at night in my bed. I think about the dudes I dated in my 20s and them laughing so hard at me for being a relationship coach because they'd be like, that crazy bitch, you know, because I grew up. And we can all grow and change. But let me tell you that that's like the midnight thought that like haunts me. Okay, so we are responsible for our choices. That means we're also responsible for the heartache that comes with choosing somebody. But there was a person here who had a great marriage and then just person disappeared. That doesn't mean that she chose wrong. That doesn't mean anything about her situation, right? It's just we can't know everything. We can do everything right. You could eat all the organic food, you could exercise every day, you could not smoke or use a cell phone, and you can still get cancer. So we're just trying our best, okay? There's nothing like nothing can save us to perfection. We're just trying our best. Okay. So this identity shift, if I've got to be something I've never become, right? Like I want something different, so I've got to be somebody I've never been before. So that somebody, think about who that person is that you want. So think about the relationship you want and who do you have to be to want that person? Well, I need to be calm. I need to be consistent in my communication. I need to respect their boundaries. I need to be honest. I need to be emotionally available. So, how many of you guys are all those things? Or how many of you guys have a few red flags? I have some red flags. Like, how many of you have some red flags? You don't have to say what they are, but like, that's where the work comes into. You're not perfect. And then you're going to look at red and green flags and pick that perfect person. You're a flawed person who is going to work on themselves. And you're going to pick somebody who is open to also working on themselves. That's it. That's relationships right there. You're not perfect. They're not perfect. It's just like we've got enough here to build upon and like, let's do it together. That's what we want to do. Okay. So Some things that you might need to think about is you don't need to earn love. You are lovable just as you are. You don't need to earn love, but maybe you could work on some behaviors that make you love yourself more. Because that's really what it comes down to. Can you love yourself more? Um, the insecure people, um, I was super insecure, and our insecurity really, really makes us like another person's problem. I need you to tell me how great I am versus me knowing how great I am. And then we can just be securely attached because I don't need that validation. So we're going to have to work on some of that, like not needing to earn to be loved. Um, Earning love. Okay. Uh, you deserve consistency. You deserve everything you want. You want somebody to text you, "Good morning, beautiful," every morning? Cool. Put it out there. But if you date somebody and they don't text you, "Good morning, beautiful," immediately, that's not a red flag. They don't know that that's something you want. So let's think about that again. There might be things that you want in a relationship and the person's not doing it and you think, this person's not good enough for me. But do they know those are things that you want? So again, it comes to communication. What do I want? You're not a mind reader, so why would that other person be a mind reader? So we've got to make sure that we are communicating like, yo, these are the 10 things I need, 5, 2, whatever. And then that's when we're going to see if they can come up. And only then can you really judge that person for not being good enough for you. That's my opinion. I can't judge somebody for not being good enough for me if I've never told them what I like, who I like, like what I'm about. If I've never shared that information, why would I assume they know anything about me? You know? So it's really about you being open to like being vulnerable and sharing and having these conversations. So some things that we could do to train our nervous system to want security is letting yourself enjoy the calm. So instead of like the excitement and then you're hanging out with that boring person, you're like, oh, this guy's boring. Could you sit in that moment of feeling bored, and be like, oh, this is calm. This is relaxed. This is like a hot tub. And like feel it in your body. And not chasing the emotional high, but like feeling that. And so what we want to do is in other parts of our lives, try not to chase emotional highs. You know, just how life is like this, right? Ups and downs, ups and downs. And when you're up, you're like, oh yeah, this is it. I've done it. I've achieved it. I've made life. Boosh, it goes down. And then when it's down, you're like, well, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a loser. I'm never going to be good enough. And we just ping pong up and down and up and down. That is a recipe for misery. How many of you guys live like that? I know I used to live like that. Up, down, just getting batted around by all the damn circumstances. I I can't even tell you like how good it is to just be in the middle and just kind of cruise. It's amazing. And so I'm not chasing these high highs. And the flip side of that is that like I'm not getting myself worked up. The highs are still the same, like the goals are still the same, but I'm not getting myself all spun out of control, like, oh my God, this is gonna be the best thing that's ever happened. This is gonna be the best night that's ever happened. I don't do that to myself anymore. That's torture. That's like having weird expectations. That's my self-torture. I'm going out. It's a night. Whatever. And then when something bad happens, oh shit, I can handle bad shit now in a way I've never been able to because I know this is temporary. And in a little bit, I'm going to have a good day. And so now I ride this wave. If you can get to that point, you're going to see so many more opportunities in life, not just in relationships, but just in life, where like you're open to some good and bad and just chilling. It's a very zen way to be. Okay. Notice when you feel grounded or who you feel grounded with. So, like, I have, a couple of different couple friends, and some of them, I get near them and I'm just like, oh, these are my people, It's so good. Some people I get near and I can tell I'm like a little guarded, a little more insecure. Okay, that's something for me to be aware of. And so, maybe don't try to date somebody that's in that group of people that already kind of triggers you a little bit, you know? Ask the friend group that makes you feel calm to set you up with people. Okay, let's see here. There's been some comments. Ooh, the red pill content. Ooh, that's interesting. We will have to get into that later. Okay. Ooh, this is very interesting stuff. We should just do a whole chat session. Okay, so now let's talk about the yellow flags. And let me just get my tea set up. So normally when I'm in a session, I prefer you guys to talk the most. So let's just take a breather here for a minute. Ladies, if you like what we do here and you want to come and join us in the group, tomorrow night we are doing some live coaching around boundaries and about like letting people be themselves and letting people do them and be them and not taking on that responsibility. So if you want to join us, it's at 6:30 tomorrow night, and Tika's going to put the link in there. Um, and then if anybody wants to like ask questions later, we're going to do the breakout rooms, and then we might do some one-on-one coaching. Okay, so let's talk about yellow flags, and I'm going to share this again. Okay, so yellow flags, this is the middle ground. These are things that are like, there's something there. I'm not quite sure what it is. There's something that's telling me this isn't great, but it's not quite a red flag yet. Okay, so this looks like maybe social awkwardness, different communication styles, emotional inexperience, shyness, different love languages, attachment styles. You know, if you're dating somebody that's in their first relationship, you've got to be patient with them, right? You have more experience than them. Or if it's your first relationship, you've got to be true to yourself, even though you feel like this person is, um, going to teach you more. So, what we want to talk about with yellow flags is that early on in the dating experience, I want you to pick one small but real item. Okay. So, this is something like, no, Kelly, you do not have to be a member to go to Costa Rica. Just come to Costa Rica with me. It's going to be gorgeous. Okay. So, choose something small but real. So, like how you communicate, a time boundary, a comfort level, personal preference. I don't like dick pics, whatever. You're going to choose something, and then you're going to have a conversation about it within like the first 2, 3 days. Something small. It could be, maybe they only eat Italian food and you don't. Or maybe they, set up a boundary that you're not comfortable with and you just want to talk about it. The idea is that we want to, it's like a little small test. And what we're looking for is if they are repair oriented. So if you give them a little like issue, like a boundary, a preference, whatever, and they say, thanks for telling me. If they listen without interrupting, if they ask clarifying questions, if they respect your boundary, if they make an effort to change, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that you don't like that. I'm not going to do that. Then like, oh, cool. And then guess what? You just had your first major stepping stone to becoming a real couple. If you can say, a preference to them and they can come back at you with one of these, then you know that they're willing to like build something. Okay, the next is if they come back with sarcasm or defensiveness. If you say, this is my boundary, and then they kind of like crack a joke at you, okay. If they minimize your concern, oh, you shouldn't worry about that. Well, I'm worried about that. If they uh, blame you for bringing it up, if they're mad at you, if they make jokes to dismiss the issue, if they ignore your request, then you know, okay, that's moving to red flag territory. So, we want to do some testing. And that was brought up earlier in the questions, like, how can I know, if this is going to be going as a good relationship or is this going to be kind of a breakdown? And am I getting attached for no good reason? And this is what we want to look for is a little issue to come up and how do they handle it? On the flip side, if they bring up an issue, watch how you handle it.